going, that is why. All right. Welcome everybody to the first weekly meeting of the baseball and softball umpires. Normally, obviously, the two sports do not generally meet together, but the reason we did this tonight is because it's the exact same information, and we have so many dual sport baseball, softball umpires that we didn't think you needed to hear the exact same information twice. And selfishly, I don't know if I wanted to present the exact same information back to back. So we're going to go through this. It's really a good introduction for officials who are newer, and a good review for officials who have been with us for a little bit. If you've been in other sports this year, you've already heard this, so I apologize, but certainly a good review going into the baseball and softball season. This will be relatively quick. Like I said, it's just kind of a, let's talk about the NMOA and the season ahead. So we'll get started. Again, welcome baseball and softball umpires. Some of the stuff we're going to go over tonight, as you can see from the agenda, is an overview of the Activities and Officials Association, a little bit of an overview of the NMOA Constitution and bylaws, and then what working baseball and softball look like this year in a very broad sense. So we'll have more information about baseball and softball and COVID protocol next week at the district clinics. So we'll probably ask you to hold any questions about those sports until that time. So the new meeting format, obviously this year because of COVID, we started having virtual meetings in our fall sports. And as the season progressed, because there has been some rules that have been relaxed with regard to COVID protocol, we decided, since we had already jumped off the cliff as far as online meetings and other sports, so we decided for the sake of consistency to just stay this way. I will tell you that it's been a very positive format for the sport of volleyball. We had about 90 to 95% of our officials who attended each week, which if you've been around officiating meetings, that's pretty much unheard of in a live format. So this does give people the opportunity to do it from their homes. You miss enough nights away from your home and your families umpiring. So this is nice to be able to have a meeting at home instead of out and about. Additionally, it has given the opportunity for the entire state to be together. So everybody is hearing a consistent message. Everybody's hearing one person deliver the same thing. So that way we're more of a New Mexico Officials Association than we are 5 separate regions. So it's been a positive in that way as well. So one of the things when the season is over is we'll be reviewing with the group leaders and assigners and just getting some feedback to take back to the executive board to see if this is a format we might stay with in the future. So be on the lookout for that. So when it comes to the NMAA and NMOA staff, there's 2 people who really comprise the officials department, as we like to call ourselves. I don't know if 2 really can be a department, but that's what we're going with. So it's myself and Nate Acosta. Nate is the individual that you contact with regard to your registration, your rating, your rule books, any of that stuff. I can help somewhat, but there's sometimes where I just don't know the answer to a question with regard to your, the status of your registration. In the sports of baseball and softball, we do have varsity regional assigners, and there are 5 regions in both baseball and softball. In baseball, your regional assigners are John Quick in the Central Region. In the Northeast is David Crawford. In the Northwest is Leonard Longhorn. In the Southeast is Dwayne Grenko, and in the Southwest is Christina Rigtrup. And then in softball, your assigners for the Central Region are Mike Garcia. In the Northeast region is Richard Salazar. Northwest region is Sam Gomez. Southeast region is Larry Grant, and Southwest region is Gary Galindo. So those are the people who have who assign your varsity games. In some cases, they do your sub-varsity as well. In some cases, that would be your group leader. So your group leaders, I don't have all of those in front of me. There's about 15 to 20 groups per sport. Your group leaders are going to be the individuals who are in charge of setting up your meetings in normal years. They take care of all of the, the rule book distribution, but they're really the educational side. Obviously, the regional assigners will help with that as well. but for the most part, the group leaders are responsible for the curriculum and agenda for those meetings. If you have questions during the year about your assignments, the first person you want to talk to is not our office, it would be your assigner. So they have your games, they know why you're assigned to certain games. We don't have that answer. If you're upset or you're disgruntled with your schedule, talk to your assigner first. If after you've had that conversation, you're still feeling not happy about it, then you can come to us and we'll have a conversation between the three of us. So just to kind of know that chain of command. And then within the NMAA office, there is a director of baseball, which is Dusty Young, and a director of softball, which is Tammy Richards. So those are the individuals you contact if you have a rules type question. They oversee the administration of the sport. So Nate and I take care of the officiating end. Tammy and Dusty take care of the administrative end. So they're going to run the state tournament. They'll take care of any questions with regard to game limitations or other functions within the NMAA handbook, as well as serve as the rule interpreters for baseball and softball. So a lot of times people ask me a baseball rules question, not a problem, but I'll send it on to Dusty for a response. So just so you kind of know how that happens. All right, so moving on. So what does each entity do? So the New Mexico Officials Association is under the umbrella of the New Mexico Activities Association. The NMAA is, of course, the organization that oversees the state championships, eligibility, anything with regard to the administration of interscholastic sports in our state. We have 13 athletic activities and 23 non-athletic activities that our office sanctions. And we hold state tournaments in those 13 athletic activities. The NMOA is essentially, a member organization of the NMAA, and it serves as a line item in the budget of the association. So the NMOA does have its own constitution and bylaws. It has its own governing documents, but it does fall under the authority and auspices of the New Mexico Activities Association. We have at the NMAA office 13 staff members with an executive director, who is Sally Marquez, an associate director, which is Dusty. So Dusty, in addition to being the director of baseball, is our associate director. And then there are activities directors or athletic directors who oversee different sports within our office, as well as a couple of support staff. And in terms of who you contact, a majority of your contact will be with me and Nate. We do have problems sometimes with officials who don't get their rule books and they think that the first person that they should call is Sally Marquez. Sally's going to take your call, but I will tell you that the executive director probably isn't going to, she probably has bigger fish to fry than mailing out your rule book. So she'll take, she takes every call, but just make sure you're calling the person that is able to help you with that question. If you can't get a hold of me about something, contact Nate, and conversely, if you can't get a hold of Nate, get a hold of me, and one of us will be able to help you, or at least say, we're working on it, let us get back to you. This year is particularly tight because of the condensed season. So if we don't get to you right away, it's just because we're juggling. So we usually try to get back with everybody within a 24-hour period, however. So the NMOA Constitution, as I alluded to a moment ago, excuse me, it is located on the NMOA Central Hub, which if you haven't looked at it, I recommend that you do. So when you go into the Arbiter and you're in your baseball account, for example, you go up into the upper right-hand corner and do switch views. And then you go to the NMOA Central Hub. On the right-hand side are your important documents, which are basically anything that affects you as an official. It's got the Constitution, a fee schedule, mileage chart, a cider's fee schedule, code of ethics, everything you can think of is up there. The NMOA Constitution has 3 sections. There's a Constitution, which is very brief. It just talks about the makeup of the association and who can be members. The bylaws, which contains information, bigger information about membership, code of conduct, code of ethics, sanctions and fines. It's a little more extensive. And then the section most officials really pay attention to is the advancement and certification criteria. And that is where you'll find the information about how you move through the different rankings. As a new official, you start as an apprentice. And the goal, I guess, is to get to state eligible, and that's when you can work all postseason. So the way you do that is through a number of steps, including meeting attendance, which you'll get a meeting credit for tonight, test scores, clinic attendance, so that's your district and state clinics. Districts next week, state was in December, so I think a lot of you were on that, and then games called. So that's how you kind of move up or down. This year, because COVID is so weird, you can't lose any ground this year. So if something happens, you only call 1 or 2 games because of COVID stuff, you're not going to be penalized. The only thing you can do this year is move up. You won't move down. So the NMAA as an association is membership led. Everything in the NMAA's governing documents is passed by the member schools. We have about 160 member schools. The same is true for the NMOA. So the NMOA Constitution, every item in there has been voted on by the membership of the Officials Association. So if you're ever looking through those governing documents and you see something you just don't like or don't think it fits or you don't agree with and you want to affect change, you can propose a change to the executive board through me and they'll review it. So if you ever want to do something like that, you would send the proposal, put where in the Constitution it is currently, and then what your rationale for changes. So that way the executive board knows, and then you can present it to the board or I can present it for you, however that works. And if it passes the board, it then goes out to referendum vote by officials. So that's why that Constitution 100% membership led, which is a good thing. This year, as I mentioned, everything will be virtual meetings. So you won't, through our office, you won't have any live meetings. Some of the local groups that are smaller and can work within COVID safe guidelines could have some live meetings if you follow social distancing and all of that, but that's up to the local groups. Working games this year, everybody's in a mask. So I've had a couple of questions about, do we still have to wear one for baseball or softball? Yes, you do. The color of mask is solid black for both sports. No logos, no nothing. We had thought about doing logos with masks, but then the thought was if you lose a logoed mask, you can't just run to the store and buy one. A black solid mask, you could probably run to the store and buy. And then this year you'll see increased communication by our office with you all and also through the assigners. So I know I send a lot of emails, but this year in particular, if you get emails from our office, please look at them because we have such changing guidelines that we're trying to keep you as informed as possible, even if that means it changes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So just pay attention to that. And we have in fall sports, for example, we've had games that get canceled at the very last minute. So we'll do our best to make sure that we get a hold of crews before they've left for their games, especially when travel is involved. If you do have a game during the year that's canceled because of COVID, our office will be paying you those lost game fees. So we'll work with the assigners to work through that. We do have something that if the assigner is able to find a different game for you, if it's canceled ahead of time, then that you aren't losing a game fee, so we won't pay you at that time. And then this is the part Nate usually does, but because I told him to not join us tonight because he's entering basketball schedules, I'll go through this. So really the technology side of the NMOA are the meetings, the arbiter, which is where you get your game assignments and do your registration and where Central Hub is and all of that. And then your membership cards this year will be done digitally. So you'll get an email if you haven't already. I don't know if Nate sent them out yet. You'll get an email with your membership card and you can either print out that email or you can just save the photo on your phone of your membership card so that you have it. Your membership card guarantees you access to the NMAA state tournament, which we're not sure if we're having yet. And then some school districts will allow officials to get in with that. This year, it's a little bit dicey because of facility restrictions with COVID, but in normal years, they're a little more likely to let you in. So if you have questions specific to the arbiter, feel free to email Nate and he can field those for you. All right. So I did see some questions coming up in the chat. I know I kind of flew through that, but I did want to, be out of respect to everybody's time. Let's see. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments? If so, you can either put them in the chat now that I can pay attention to that a little bit more, or you can unmute yourself and ask. These are very informal if you haven't joined us for one.
Hey, Dana, this is Rick Carbajal. I was wondering if the COVID protocols for softball and baseball have been released yet.
I know that there's some online, and to be honest with you, I don't know if baseball and softball are in there or if they are waiting until after the district clinics next week. As I mentioned, and let me grab this for everybody, the district baseball and softball clinics will be held next week, and you've seen emails about that. You'll see another one for me on Friday that has that information. Baseball, let's see, softball will be Tuesday the 30th at 6. Baseball is Tuesday the 30th at 7:30. So if you do 2 sports, you're going to be hanging out with us quite a bit on Tuesday night. For all of the meetings, you'll get an invitation the Friday before and then the day of, and you have to register. Unfortunately, you have to register for every meeting, but as you saw, it doesn't take long. If you're on this meeting, you had to go through that process. It's the only way we can track attendance. So we apologize for having to do that, but I don't think it's too difficult. And then district clinic, like I said, you'll get an invite for that Friday and then again Tuesday morning. Are we wearing COVID masks under the face mask while working the plate? The answer to that is yes. Unfortunately, it's a public health order and we can't get around it. So for example, kids playing football right now are having to figure out how to have a mouthpiece and a mask on. So it's definitely challenging. Face masks may have a small manufacturer's logo. That is correct. So it can have any kind of logo. If it's Under Armour, Nike, Adidas, Puma, if you're me, just make sure it doesn't take up like the whole part of your mask, but most of them will have like a logo on the side, and that's absolutely fine.
Hey, Dana, use gaiters? Actually I have a mask on right now if anybody could see me. This mask is really, really great with eyeglasses. It's a KF94 mask by Co and Bow Company. Got it on Amazon. It was like $25 for 8 masks. So, and they do sell them in larger packs.
And you probably all saw an email from me about wearing glasses and a mask. One of the things the soccer officials have found, and they run a lot, and what they've found is if you put a piece of like athletic tape on the bridge of your nose, it actually prevents the fogging, which I had no idea, but I had probably 30 soccer officials give me that little helpful hint. So I thought that was kind of cool. Do we have a, go ahead, Randy.
Can we use gaiters? Gaiters?
No, gaiters are prohibited by the governor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry. I know that's not the answer anybody wants, and I always hate telling them that, but that's what we've been given. If it changes, we'll let you know, but as of right now, it is a no gator. And that's for athletes and players, coaches, officials, everybody.
Dana, John Casado.
Hey, John.
Hello, ma'am. On the reassignments of COVID, if you are reassigned and the schedule is full, is 3-person games an option?
That I don't know. I would have to ask Sally. I would assume at this point it would probably be no, yes, but not for pay. So I will have to ask her that because we have not been asked that question. So that's a good question. I'm writing it down right now.
I mean, if we're gonna get paid for a game we're not gonna be able to do,
may as well go work, right?
Game.
Absolutely. No, that's a good thought. And thank you for asking that because like I said, has not been asked. So we have not thought about it. So I appreciate that. And I'll get an answer and I'll get that sent out to everybody. Do I have a list of schools that are participating? Not yet. Sally will be asking for the schools to basically declare. And I'm assuming she'll get that within the next week or so. And then we'll send everybody well, not everybody, but the group leaders and assigners, a list of the schools that are participating.
Yeah, evening, Dana. It's Pete Bertrand. Just a question, kind of going back to rankings. I know we had a very, very truncated season last year. Have you guys decided how we're going to count that season as far as rankings go? You'll
just stay where you were. So last year, because it was such a short season, if you were state eligible last year, you'll be state eligible this year. So there won't really be any movement. If somebody called a partial season and it might help move them up, just kind of flag us, shoot us an email so we can look at that. So if you called if you went to district clinic, state clinic, did some meetings, did some games, we'll look at it and kind of review it on a case by case basis.
I copy that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And like I said, last year didn't hurt anybody. So it'll only help just like this year. We're trying to be as flexible as possible.
Hey, Dana.
Yes, sir.
Hey, has there been any talk or any sign of having the mask mandate be relaxed for anybody that's been vaccinated 100%?
Not yet. So we have asked that question, and the two questions we have brewing are that one, and then if officials can be counted as educators for the purposes of the vaccine. So those are the two questions that we're they're floating around somewhere right now. So as soon as we find something out, we'll let you know.
Oh, good, because you answered my second question.
I'm psychic. All right, sorry, I'm taking notes and talking, and I apparently can't multitask. All right, any other questions, comments?
I have a question, Dana, about the clinic.
Yes, sir.
The odds are I'm going to have a game on a Tuesday night in El Paso. I may not be able to make that clinic. The game started at 6 o'clock. Is there an optional clinic, or how can I handle that?
So we will have it recorded, and anybody who misses it will send a link to the recording with a makeup assignment. So, and that'll be the same for any regular season meetings. Since everything's so condensed, you may have a game on the night of a meeting. So we'll have everything recorded so that you can make up anything that you miss.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hey, Dana, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
For softball, are we going to be wearing the new uniforms this year, or do we have a waiver for that?
That is right now under review, and I will get an answer out hopefully within the next couple of days.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm reading and writing and typing. Let's see. So arbiter should be fixed to $17. So those of you who registered last year and did not get a refund, all you have to pay this year is the $17 for insurance. And last I heard, it has been fixed. So if you go in and it still is not, please let us know so that we can address that. Let's see. Do I know who the Ruidoso head official will be? No, I don't. So let me write myself a note about that.
Dana, this is Tom Litchfield. I got a question. What will our responsibilities as officials be in enforcing the COVID standards, protocols that you're stating? I mean, as far as wearing masks, et cetera.
So really, we've advised our officials for the fall and winter sports. We don't want your focus to be on that. We don't want our officials to be the mask police. It'll be as simple as if you see a kid whose mask has fallen down in the course of play, which obviously could happen, just kind of remind them to pull it up. If there's a kid who is chronically taking the mask off, that is now a conversation with the coach of just, coach, player number whatever keeps taking his mask off or her mask off, and the coach needs to address it. So we'll go over more of that Tuesday night for the district clinics, and Dusty can kind of expand on that a little bit. But you know, we've had a couple of situations where officials in some of our other sports have issued a penalty and there isn't one. So we're navigating through some of that right now. So we'll make sure that we go more in depth with that on Tuesday night.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. All right.
Hey, Dana.
Yes.
We got a question this afternoon and stuff, but you know, the pitcher reaches underneath his mask and licks his fingers and then goes to the ball. Do we just take it out of play?
That will be a Tuesday issue. I don't have that answer yet. Yeah, so Dusty will go over a lot of that because I know in baseball and softball, there's that issue and spitting and all of that stuff. So I know Dusty's going to go over that quite a bit for the baseball umpires.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hey, Dana, Stan. Quick question about game management. And I know this would probably be more of a district question, but a lot of our sites, there's not really a go-to person other than the head coach of the home team. Is that an emphasis in the spring sports this year to have maybe someone with the ties to the school who's not involved in the game be part of game management?
It's a point of emphasis every year, but I don't know that it's worked a whole lot. So I'm sure, make sure you ask that question on Tuesday so that we can get an answer from Tammy for softball and Dusty for baseball.
Thank you.
Oh, and there is a note that baseball arbiter is working fine. Thank you, Louise.
So Dana, just as you were talking about the mask and how it slips down, Los Lunas was on Channel 4 just now and was practicing seeing the girls with their masks down at their chin.
Yep, every article, every social media post, it all seems to be that way. Everything I saw over the weekend, I cringed. I was like, oh my gosh. So what we're concerned about is the more that happens and the more the governor sees those, the more likely we would be to get shut down. So, you know, we're trying to do the best we can. However, I don't want the officials to be so fixated on that's what they're worrying about. You have enough to worry about once the game starts. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Items for the good of the order?
Hey, Dana.
Hey, Bert. Hello.
We better go to those new uniforms. I just spent $250 on shirts and pants.
Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit, Bert.
I said, we better go to the new uniforms. I just spent $250 on new shirts and pants.
There you go. I know last year was supposed to be the year of grace, was my understanding. So sorry, I'm reading and speaking. So yeah, I mean, we're looking at it, and like I said, we'll have a final answer as far as what the options, requirements, all of that stuff will be. So I'm getting a lot of questions about registration. If you're getting anything other than $17, send Nate or myself an email so that we can address that. So there was a question, does everyone have to pay when registering? Not necessarily. So if you officiated last year and weren't refunded, it would be $17. If you were refunded, you would pay full dues. And if you didn't work last year, it would be full dues. So it shouldn't ever say zero. Oh, well, that's a lie. If you registered for a previous sport this year, then you wouldn't have to pay anything else. So if you did football and now baseball is your second sport, you wouldn't have to pay anything. And Matt, I just saw your comment. I think that would, you know, that's a good suggestion, but I don't know how we would look at that in terms of an NFHS equipment rule. So that's something, if you can do me a favor and email that to me, and I'll send it to Sally and Dusty and Scott and the sport admins and see what they think. That would be a good suggestion. Thank you.
Hey, Dana, I'm here in Roswell. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Could you verify and make it aware to everybody about the testing, about what you guys said about testing if we submitted our test last year, and the possibility of looking at or reviewing previous tests that for some reason the arbiter or the NFHS doesn't let you look at the test like it did in previous years?
So I got your email from last week, and I sent a request into the individual at the arbiter who takes care of the testing. I have not yet heard back from him, but once I do, I will let you know. As we had mentioned last year, if you took the baseball or softball exam, you don't have to retake it this year. You can, if you'd like to, just to stay fresh, you're more than welcome to do so. If you don't want to retake it, we're trying to figure out if there's a way to go in and review that. I think it has to do with the dates that we had for the end of the review. And there just might be a need to readjust that. So I'm just waiting on a response from Arbiter on that one.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Dana, I'm sorry, did you say that if we did take the test last year that we would not have to take it this year?
That is correct. It's the same test.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So since there were no real rules changes, since it's the exact same rule book, if you took last year's test, you don't have to retest. You have that option. Like I said, if you just want to get back in the rule book and take your test, you're more than welcome to do so. And then we would just take the higher test score of the two if you did take last year and this year.
But that's providing that it was passed last year, correct? If you failed it last year,
if you failed it, you would have to take part 2.
Yeah.
So there was just a question in the chat, can we take it to get a better score? You would take part 2 if you want to improve your score. Any other questions? All right, well, this was quick. So as was mentioned, your next meetings will be the district clinics next week. And then after that, we'll start rolling out some of the local meetings. As you saw in the email, it'll be the regions that are presenting those. So our office will host them on Zoom and facilitate them and record them and all of that good stuff. But the regions will be presenting. So those will start the week after next. And we'll look forward to a good season. I do want to say thank you to everybody for your patience this year. It's been absolutely crazy. And I think I've mentioned it a lot, but it's just a year for staying pliable and staying light on your feet and just kind of adjusting your sails as the wind blows. So I apologize in advance for all of the emails, and certainly, sorry, people are private messaging me. So I don't know on the disposable masks, I will find out. And new softball officials, Mike, send me an email. Nate's been doing the basketball schedules for the better part of a week. So he probably just hasn't seen, he maybe didn't see your text. Just send that to me and we'll get it to you. So again, thank you, and my apologies for all of the emails that I've been sending, but please do pay attention to those when they come in, just because we have so many changes. Start thinking about questions you might have for Dusty and Tammy next week as the rules directors, and that way they can help answer those COVID protocols. Sally will be on those as well, so she'll be addressing a lot of the COVID guidelines. And Dusty will go over calendar for baseball, as will Tammy for softball. So they'll go through all that stuff on the admin side. Coaches will be on that as well. So it'll be a time that everybody can get on the same page and we can find out more about what officials and what umpires should do in terms of mask wearing and all of that in the sports of baseball and softball. I wish everybody a wonderful baseball and or softball season. And certainly if there's anything you all need, please let us know and we'll definitely get that information to you. This year is kind of different from the perspective of we have canceled our state music events. So usually during your season, I'm up to my elbows in band and choir. This year, because we aren't having those events, I'll be able to give you all my undivided attention, which I feel good about. And I really do look forward to working with all of you this year. And I can't wait to get you back on the diamond and doing what you love to do. So we're at your service if you need us, and we look forward to a great season. Are excited that it's actually going to get started here soon. So have a great night, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing everybody again on Tuesday night. Take care, everybody.
All right, Dana.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you. We appreciate you guys and gals. Sorry, I'm a woman and I say guys like it's just a generic term. So
well, so do I. So it's, okay, it's just a term. I'm never offended. Good grief. Are you kidding? I'm just one of the guys.
As am I. I'll walk into a room of all women. I'll go, hey guys. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You feel me.
I absolutely, yeah, I sure do. Because I do exactly the same thing. So I totally get it.